Alright guys, welcome back. Monday, November 18th, just coming up to 10 to 7 in the PM. And we're out in the garage after work as promised. I'm going to try to do power hours here and there, get back to the regular schedule when I can. And we are looking at the bonnet on the TR250 project tonight. And as mentioned, I think we're going to tackle the front eyebrow section here where you can see it's had some damage here and they've put a braised patch in. They haven't done it very well because they haven't followed the line of the brow across where it should be. It's actually in probably about 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch or so. So we're going to take the hood off or the bonnet off and put it on stands over in the center of the garage. And we're going to flip it around and see what the structure looks like underneath as well. I can feel that it's got a bit of a ragged edge under here. It's not very well finished. So we'll have to finish that as well, or fix that as well, the best we can. Right now, at the top of my head, I'm just thinking of cutting a section of metal out here and putting a new section in, but we'll have to see what it looks like underneath first and see if I can join that top patch in somehow with the bottom patch, because I know it's kind of rolled over. It's like a rolled edge. So we'll see what we can do that. I might be able just to put the patch in and attach a bottom flange to it and then sort of grind over and round it off because it's a fairly round edge here. Anyway, first thing to do, take the bonnet off and have a better look at it. Alright guys, I just flipped the bonnet over to take a look, and here's that flange I was talking about that's kind of rolled on the inside, and you can see the patch that was put in on the inside as well. It should look like this side over here. Got a nice sort of finish to it, nice radius piece, so we're going to try to copy this on this side, and of course we're going to try to fix that where that juts in and fix it. Probably come over to about here as our actual locating point, and we'll try to make it look like the other side. So I guess we'll get the cutting wheel out and we'll do a little cutting. It's been a while. I think I'm going to flip the bonnet back over in order to make that cut. But the first thing I want to do while I'm here before I flip it over, I've got a bunch of these little fasteners here which shouldn't be here as far as I know. I'm not sure what these were. Maybe they were holding some sort of cable. This looks like a little cable hold down. Anyway, it goes all the way across the leading edge of the bonnet as well. So I'm not sure if the guy ran some sort of special cable for this bonnet somehow. But anyway, I'm going to remove all of these little funny little pieces from the bottom of this this bonnet that shouldn't be here as far as I know. So we'll go ahead and do that first. I think they're just slotted screwdriver, but we'll find out shortly. All right, gotta cut those clips off. They're funny little things. Obviously they did hold a cable at some point. Who knows what that cable would be, running from the front of the hood then all the way down this rod towards the front of the car. So I'm not sure what it would actuate. Maybe it was pulling a, who knows, maybe a choke on the far Weber carb. Who knows? It's hard to guess. I think there's another one here that looks like it might be broken off, but gonna have to get the Dremel out and grind that down. Or maybe we'll just leave it there for a conversation piece. We'll see. So we'll bag those up anyway and put them away just for safekeeping. I think what the other thing we'll do, I probably won't do it right now, but you can see that there's actually felt strips under here, and this was done on a lot of the cars to just keep the hood from vibrating. So I'm going to pull all these strips out eventually. There's a big strip here along this center as well, and along the front you can sort of see it sticking out. So all that felt's got to come out of there eventually. I still haven't figured out what I'm doing with this bonnet yet, whether I'm actually going to get it bead blasted or soda blasted. It does have a little bit of surface rust here, I'm just noticing, and it's got some undercoating that needs to be scraped off as well. So anyway, we'll figure out what to do with this at a later date. We'll concentrate on repairing that area first. So one more thing before I flip the bonnet over again. So just wanted to make note of the original emission stickers that are on this car, and the locations. There's 3 different stickers. These are available as reproductions, so I've got those on order, so I'll apply those back when the hood is painted. The other thing I'm noticing is that looks like it may not be the original bonnet for this car. The TR250 came in a Valencia blue color, and it looks like underneath my royal blue looks to be like some Valencia blue. So that could be interesting. Anyway, maybe not the original hood to this car. Who knows with this car? All right, flip it over. All right, I think we're just going to cut it here. Well, I'm going to cut it up to the first line. I was going to go a little further, but there's not really any need to. So we'll just cut it here. And done some measurements of this side versus the other side using this ruler and how far this is off. I'd help you to understand a little bit better, but I can't actually hold a ruler and bend it at the same time. Just have to trust me. I am going to model it off this side over here, which seems to be in much better condition. It's got a little bit of damage here on the front, but actually looks like it's even been leaded here. If I look closely, that looks like a little bit of lead in there. So anyway, we'll grab the cutting wheel and we'll cut this piece out. Should be okay. Backside wise, yep. So we'll go ahead and cut that out. All right, it's been a while since I cut anything up. Maybe I'm out of practice. No going back. Don't know how we're going to be able to see this. You can see the previous owner put a little piece of round bar in there to bend the nose of this piece around. So there's the piece that was just removed. You can see all the brazing in it and the folded edge. There's what the flange should look like. Should have been that wide. So we repaired it and just folded it. So kind of a weird repair, but I don't expect anything else on this car. So we'll figure out what we're going to do. Okay, so I think I have a plan of what I can do with this. So I'm thinking of doing a flat patch across the top to make up the distance where I need to be, and obviously bring it a little further out to match the profile. And then I can start working on my flange on the inside, and I can bring it up to where it's going to meet. Now I can either weld a piece of bar in the front of it, or I can actually just build up the weld and then grind it over to make the front edge, the front thickness of this edge. So we'll figure it out once we get there, but I think my first patch is going to be this patch across the top. So we'll do that first, and then we'll figure out where we're at. We have our little top patch made. It's going to fit in something like that, and obviously we'll do a little hammer and dolly work as we go to make this match up perfectly, but that's a pretty good fit for starters. So we'll just tack it lightly and do a little shaping as we go. So we'll drag the welder out and see if I can weld tonight. It's been a while, so we'll drag that over here. So just as I picked up the welder and moved it over, of course the welding inspector came. Yeah. So it's been a while since we've seen Les in the garage. Anyway, how's it going?
We're doing good.
He's showing me his new parts acquisition. He's buying a TR6, all his TR6 parts one part at a time. So he's got the capping for the windscreen over there that he brought over, and I told him if he leaves it there, it's going to be part of my part stash. So you better not forget it here. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. All right. So back to welding. You want to weld this?
Sure.
All right. Okay, we're making progress welding this patch in along the top. We're just taking our time, and I've just scribed a mark as to where this is actually going to be cut off or ground down, just with a Sharpie. So that's looking pretty good as far as the line is concerned, looking much better. So we'll continue to go ahead and weld, and I've got a few more little areas to fill up before we break out the grinder. So we'll probably go ahead and just trim this down, or trim this probably a little bit longer than it needs to be, but we'll break out the cutting wheel and we'll just trim that now before we continue on filling up the gaps, and then we'll grind it down smooth and we'll call it a night. It's about 10 after 9, so we've been out here for a little bit, a little more than an hour so far. A little more than the planned power hour. Okay guys, we've got the welds ground down, and I think we're going to stop there for the night. A little pinhole here that I got to fill up. Other than that, not too bad. Shape is pretty good. It's definitely a better line across. Remember, I'm going to have that rolled edge here as well, and the flange on the bottom, so we'll work on that. Hopefully tomorrow night we'll get out here. We'll strengthen up the front of this with a little bit of rolled, probably a little bit of metal rod on the inside, and then we'll put the flange on the other side. I'll show you how we do that tomorrow, and we'll see if it actually works out. So anyway, that's it for tonight. We'll get back out here, like I said, hopefully tomorrow. Have a good night, guys. All right, Tuesday night, just coming up to 7:45, and that Les is a bad influence. It's Tuesday night, which is half price chicken wing night, so Les called me and said, you want to go for chicken wings, and you know, twist my arm. Anyway, it's now 7:45. Nice and warm out in the garage. I'm beginning into the habit, or what I've started to do is crank the heat on as soon as I get home from work. And it's up to 70 degrees, so just under 20 degrees Celsius in the garage, so it's actually perfect to work in. I've got my shorts on out here. It's so nice. So the only problem with the electric heater is it shares my my 220 with my compressor, so I'm going to have to unplug the heater if I want to plug my compressor in. So anyway, I think I can probably get by without the compressor tonight. I have the small compressor if needed, but it doesn't drive the air tools very well. So we'll use the air tools judiciously. All right, we're going to continue working on this area here that we were working on last night, the eyebrow. And we're going to probably flip the hood over and figure out how we're going to do this nose of the hood. As again, it's got a bit of a bull nose to it. So I'm thinking of welding a piece of rod in, and then thinking of welding a piece of flange material to the back of that. So like I said, I'm going to flip the hood over and see if that's going to work or not. I think it will, but let's have another look at the back side of the patch, and it looks like I've got pretty good penetration, which is good. So maybe we'll clean this weld up a little bit, since this is going to be visible actually from inside the engine bay. When the hood is tipped forward, you can still see the eyebrow area that just rests in front of the grill, with the grill behind it actually. So I do want to make sure this is cleaned up. I will have to body work this area a little bit, but let's clean that weld up a little bit, and then we'll proceed on fitting a piece of rod in here and see how that's going to work. All right, we'll be back. So here's the plan. Here's my steel rod that I just given a quick bend to. So the idea is to weld this on the inside of this eyebrow, give it some strength first of all, and then we're going to add that secondary flange piece over the top of that and weld that solid. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. I think that'll work out okay. The thickness looks to be pretty good with this bar, and obviously I can always grind it a little bit to make sure it fits the profile. So I think we're going to work with this. Well, we're going to trim this a little bit and get it fitted into that slot a little bit better, and then we'll work on doing some tack welds in there and see if that's going to work. I think it will. I don't know whether this will make sense to you or not, but you see the rounded edge here? And it goes all the way up. So I'm taking this piece of round bar, and we're just going to try to fit it onto the nose here. And we're going to stick it out a little bit proud of the bottom sheet metal, so I can grind that a little bit just to get the profile. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to tack it in here initially. Once we get it fitting a little tiny bit better, it's going to look something like that. And then we'll flip it over and have a look before we weld it in fully, but we'll weld that seam closed, and that'll allow us to grind that to put a bit more of a profile, a round profile on it, and then we'll work on that rear flange. So that's the idea that we're going for. Plus that's going to give us some strength too. I see it needs a little bit, tiny bit of hammering just where this finger is, where I'm wiggling. It's a little bit of a bump there, so I think we'll try to do a little hammer and dolly work there and see if I can get that to flatten out a little bit before we go ahead and weld this in solid. All right, that's what the plan is. Okay, so there's the bar just tacked in along the bottom. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill in these gaps. It is a little bit proud of the nose, so I can grind this back a little bit, like I said, and profile it. So I think that's going to work okay. So I'll work slowly on filling in this gap, and then we'll create that rear flange piece to sort of wrap over or to attach just at the back here and go this way. So I think that's going to work, so we'll continue on. Okay, we've got the round rod now welded fully across the eyebrow, and I've just created a little flange patch here that's going to fit kind of like that, but I've got to obviously grind this down first. I'm going to let it cool down a little bit. You can see, hopefully you can see that. Let me move this light. So I've got a weld bead all across the front of that. So we're going to flip the hood over and see what that looks like. And like I said, we'll take the grinder and we'll profile that a little bit before we go ahead and add that last little flange piece to it. Okay, there's a quick look of it before I do any grinding. So I think it's going to be good actually. Thickness seems to be pretty good, pretty consistent. So we'll just, like I said, we'll profile that a little bit, but not much. And obviously grind the top weld off, make that look a little bit better. So yeah, I think that's going to work out okay. And then of course that bottom flange piece needs to go on. So you can probably see where I'm going with this, hopefully. All right, we'll break out the grinder. Okay, there's how it looks with a quick shaping with the grinder. And we'll take the DA to make this a little bit cleaner looking. But that looks not too bad as far as I'm concerned. And remember, we still have that little flange piece to go on the inside. So that'll still give this edge a little thickness. It's just that bar in there right now at the moment. So once we add that flange in, should even give it a little bit better profile. So we'll go ahead and add that flange. We'll flip the hood over again, and we'll end that, weld that flange in, and then we'll do our finished grinding. We'll call it a night on this bonnet. And just a quick shot of that bottom flange patch tacked in. So we're just taking our time welding it in so we don't warp anything, and then we'll go back and after a few minutes and we'll finish weld that, and then we'll grind that down and we'll flip it over and take another look. Okay, it's looking pretty good from the bottom side, sanded down. We're going to flip it over and check the top profile, do a little bit more sanding with the DA. Other than that, it looks pretty darn good. I might get my little Dremel out just to clean that interior piece up a little bit more, but there's going to be a little body filler on there anyway. But that looks pretty good from the bottom side. Let's flip it over. Alright guys, end of night update. I think that looks pretty good actually. It's definitely nice and strong. The shape's pretty good. Got a little bit of a low spot that I got to contend with, but a little bit of filler will take care of that. I knew I was going to have to use some filler, but the profile looks pretty good. So I think we're happy with that. Definitely better than what was there before. So we'll call that another job done, and we'll move on to another area, but that will be tomorrow. Believe it or not, it's almost 10 o'clock, so it takes me a while just to do these little areas of repair. All right, that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching.